Stitch with me, part 2. Hi, my name's Lauren. I teach visible mending and hand embroidery, and this is part 2 of our beginner stitches. To quickly go over a couple stitches that I've been talking about in my videos, namely the satin stitch, the whipped stitch, and the blanket stitch. For the satin stitch, I prefer to use a hoop. This is just how I prefer to embroider. You don't have to, but it will be hard on your hands after a little while. So the satin stitch is just one stitch right next to each other. So I've made one stitch. I'm going underneath my fabric and coming back out where I originally started my stitch, but just right underneath it, not in the same hole, and I'm making another stitch. And I'll just repeat this until this entire area is covered. Sometimes it can be easy to go off course a little bit, meaning getting a little crooked. So sometimes I like to make these guidelines for myself. This just gives me a good eye line to embroider to, so I know I'm staying level and not getting a little crooked. I like to use the satin stitch to cover small holes, but another great way to use it is to cover fraying cuffs and the bottoms of jackets. I'll remove my sample from the hoop and we're going to move on to the whipped stitch. You'll hear whipped stitch quite often or tacking stitch in my mending videos because it is a very well used stitch in visible mending. I drew a little circle to embroider around, and we can imagine this is a hole in our jeans or something like that. And inside the hole is going to be our patch fabric. So I'm taking my needle through both layers of fabric. It's going through the inside of the middle hole, under the line, outside. So this is sewing the two layers of fabric together. It's called the whip stitch because the needle never leaves the fabric. It's just whipping in and out, and that's pretty much it. This is a close-up on how I like to tie my knots. I use the butt of the needle and anchor it in the hole of the knot and then tighten it, and it usually shimmies the knot right down under, so this knot should be very close to the back of the fabric. Last stitch we're doing is the blanket stitch. The blanket stitch is a really great way to finish patches if you don't want a raw hem on the inside, but you don't want a rolled hem either. This is what you'll use if you do it by hand. I like to hide the knot in the first roll of the hem, so I'm starting from behind the fabric, and then I'm basically bringing my needle diagonally from the front to the back, and then catch the original thread when I pull it through. Instead of that thread be a diagonal line, I've caught it and it makes more of a 7 than a dash. And you repeat this going all the way across your hem. This is a really beautiful way to finish edges, finish hems, finish your patch. The blanket stitch is a great utility stitch. And you finish it on the back with a knot in the same way. And that's it. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you on the next.